Welcome back, everyone, to week 4 predictions for the Call of Duty League matches leading up to Major 1. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. My predictions were ass. Oh my God, they were so bad. I had a great sweep in week 2, and then week 3 happens, and I am just awful. So we're just going to go ahead and jump into it. First day, I said that G2 was going to win over Falcons. Falcons 3-2 them. I also said that Ravens was going to beat Miami, and I was right on that. So we're 1 for 1. Not too bad for day 1, but trust me, it gets worse. OpTic versus FaZe. This score line is absolutely insane. With how OpTic has been playing, at least prior to the holiday break, I would have figured that, you know, maybe OpTic can keep up the momentum. Maybe, you know, FaZe wasn't practicing as much as they were during the holidays. I don't know what happened, but FaZe they ended up beating OpTic 3-0, just swept them. And I don't know if it's because OpTic beat themselves or just FaZe has been locking in because the Aluka pickup has been putting some pressure on, you know, Draza and Simp and all that. So also, I want to correct the record. I think I said Neptune was on FaZe. He's not on FaZe. He's on General Mates. It's Abuza. I keep forgetting about Abuza. So I want to apologize for that. So I said OpTic was going to win over FaZe, and they did not. They got 3-0'd. I did say that Surge was going to beat Boston, so that's correct. So now we're 2 for 2. Not too bad. And then I said General Mates was going to beat C9, so now we're 3 for 2. So rough start, obviously, compared to week 2. But I mean, week 2, we had almost a full green sweep. So now we go on to the final day of week 3, and I said that Ravens was going to be G2. I don't know if I said if it was going to be a map 5. I think I did, but I guess this one's spot on. It went game 5. Ravens beat G2. With G2, I don't know, man. I saw them play Overload, and they looked atrocious. Oh my God, they didn't look like they knew how to play the mode. And you know, I love Skies, but you know, we gotta have a conversation, man. Skies, we gotta either change up how you play AR, or you just gotta hit the bench, man. You gotta hit the road, Jack. I don't know. But going on to OpTic versus Surge, obviously OpTic hit a mean bounce back from the 3-0 from FaZe, beat Surge 3-1. They really needed that, because if they lost to Surge, then a lot of people probably be questioning this OpTic roster. I don't see how they could lose to Surge, especially with like if you watch like the OpTic content and stuff like that. Like Mercury's apparently is like super dedicated to this shit. Apparently whenever they lost before, they were like, dude, that's unacceptable. So, you know, Merc, I don't know if he's whipping these guys back into shape or what. And then the final one that we ended on was LAT versus Toronto. I think I said LAT 3-1. Man, I was off the mark. Hold on, let me scroll up. I was off the mark so bad. 3-0 Toronto. Wow. Compared to week 2, dude, I'm ass. So let's go ahead and get into week 4, and let's go ahead and make some smarter predictions. First matchup, we have Surge versus Miami. Now this can either be, you know, this is a 50-50, because one team is 1-4, one team is 1-3. I think personally, since Miami has taken OpTic to game 5 and Surge has yet to do that, which they didn't have the greatest showing with TJ on the roster now, but they did beat Boston last week, so they're not a pushover team. We haven't seen the Surge roster actually, you know, get some momentum. TJ is a recent addition to the Surge lineup. I think Miami wins this. I would not be surprised if this goes to a map 5 though. I think Miami wins this over Surge. I want to see if Surge can, you know, make a run at Major 1, because I think what their biggest problem with this matchup is that Miami, they have a lot more chem, a lot more reps, a lot more practice than what Surge with TJ has right now. So I'm going to go with a Miami 3-2. And move on to the second match of the day, which I don't know why we're doing 2 matches on Friday. I thought that was odd last week, but now I guess that's just the format now. That's kind of whack. We have Falcons versus General Mates. I've been sleeping on this Falcons team for a minute. Okay. I have been sleeping on this Falcons team for a minute. However, they are going up against General Mates, and General Mates has been looking extra nice at just every game mode they've been playing. With that being said, I think this also goes map 5. I think General Mates, if they don't win it in map 4, this definitely goes map 5. I think Falcons, their hard points looking better, their search and destroy is looking better. It's their overload that I'm worried about. And I wouldn't be surprised if Falcons get reverse swept, but I'm thinking it's going to be a General Mates 3-2. just because I don't want to doubt them. Just because Falcons has been on, you know, a great streak recently, I don't want to just be like, hey, like they're definitely going to beat like one of the top 2 teams in the league, even though they're arguably considered top 4, at minimum top 6, but I'd argue they're top 4 right now, especially in terms of like point standings. They're in 4th place, which is, for the Falcons brand, that's phenomenal. This might be their best year they've ever had, considering that they were originally Paris Legion, Vegas Legion, all that. I'm talking about just that specific spot in the league. Like, it has never gotten this close to top 4. So not just the Falcons brand, but just that specific like rotation of Legion to Vegas to Falcons to all that. That evolution is just very interesting to watch. So yeah, we're gonna go with Genomates 3-2. Moving on to Saturday, we have Miami versus Boston. This is a classic. This is a classic, at least a top 8 classic for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and say that Boston, they've been getting better. Miami, I think Miami's just had harder matchups. I don't know. Dude, it's a 50-50. I don't want to sound faded by saying that like both these teams are ass, but I also don't want to say one's better than the other. I definitely think this is like a top 6, top 8 mid-pack matchup. I'm gonna go ahead and say, just because of recent events, I'm going to say this goes at map 5 again. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I just want to see map 5s. Don't judge me. We're here for the wins and the losses, not the map count. We might do that next year. I think I might go Boston here. I think that matchup with Surge and Miami is just a little bit too much of a toss-up for me. I think I'm going to go Boston with this one. Yeah, I think Boston beats Miami here. Next matchup is Toronto versus Ravens. Now, this one, I'm fairly confident that Toronto is going to 3-0 Ravens. Not because Ravens are ass, but because Toronto has been on a roll recently. I mean, they've been playing really well, especially if you watch their match against LAT last week. Like, it was just very, very smooth, very efficient. They had LAT looking like they were just clueless on the map. And that team of LAT players is just full of superstars. You got Scrappy, Abizi, Kenny, and Hydra. And all 4 of those players are phenomenal. On paper, that team is a championship caliber roster. And if you hadn't had seen like any of their games these, you know, past 3 weeks, or even during the preseason, you'd be like, oh yeah, that team's definitely, you know, they're probably at least top 2 for champs winners. No, Toronto made them their bitch. So I'm going to say Toronto 3-0 Ravens here. Not because Ravens suck, but because Toronto is just, they're firing on all cylinders right now, and they're just playing phenomenally well. I think Toronto win this 3-0. And then we're going to keep this last one brief. Last match of the day is FaZe versus C9. I think FaZe just win this. I mean, they 3-0'd OpTic, which you can argue is one of the best teams in the game. Arguably probably the best team in the game prior to that FaZe 3-0. I just think they 3-0 Cloud9. There's not really much to talk about here. Cloud9, they, you know, they exist, and unfortunately that is just the story of this brand in the CDL. So I think FaZe 3-0 Cloud9 here. And then for Sunday, we have Cloud9 versus Boston. I think Boston wins this. You know, not again, I feel like I'm being a little too hard on C9, but just they haven't shown me anything that like really stands out. Like, oh yeah, this team has, like, I was really high on this roster at the beginning, and then they just continue to just drop the ball over and over again. And I think Boston has a better chance of winning this than Cloud9 does. I'm going to go with Boston beating Cloud9 here. Next matchup, this is just going to be a slaughter, especially with how G2 was playing last week. I think FaZe are a phenomenal overload team. They're just phenomenal in every game mode. I think this would probably be a 3-0 day. Maybe on the last one it might not be 3-0, but definitely we're going to see a couple 3-0s from probably day 2 to day 3 for the last 2, and then the first 2 matches of that weekend. I think FaZe 3-0 G2 here. I don't think G2 has a chance of beating this FaZe roster, especially with how they were looking last week. I don't see it being a thing. So FaZe 3-0 G2. Now this matchup, I'm very, something in my gut says that there's going to be a little bit of Fugaze. I'm going to say OpTic. A little bit of bias there because I am an OpTic fan, but I don't know, man. The fact that OpTic got 3-0'd by FaZe last week doesn't sit right with me. I definitely think something, I don't know if they got complacent. I don't know if they just hadn't practiced enough leading up to that FaZe matchup. But I think if LAT is going to show that there's a little bit of life left in this roster, it has to be this game. You have to show out against one of the best teams in the game, in the league right now. I think if LA can take this to a game 5, I think that'll, you know, give some credence to not dropping Kenny or Abizi, because Kenny, I don't think he was the exact problem last week. Abizi had, you know, a few rough starts as well. I want to see what happens after Major 1. If LA can show up here and then show up at the Major, I don't think we see a roster change. But I think that OpTic win this, but I'm very curious to see what the internal camp looks like after this specific matchup, because this is going to tell a lot going into Major 1 and then post Major 1. So I'm going to say OpTic beat LA here. If we have to guess a map count, I think LA could probably take one map off them. I want to say it'll probably be a hard point, because OpTic's hard point hasn't been the best this year. So I'm gonna say OpTic 3-1 LA here. That's gonna do it for week 4 predictions. I hope I have a better stat line this week than I did for week 3, because compared to week 2, dude, that was just brutal. I had some faded, like I was watching it back, I had some faded ass takes. I probably have some faded takes in this video, but I usually make these decisions based off of what I've seen, the players that are on the roster, and my gut. My gut has been wrong, obviously, but I feel like it's better than just going through, and plus it keeps the video shorter. I don't want to go through like all like the stat tables and stuff like that. We might do that for the majors. Majors might have longer videos, like Major 1 all the way up to champs. We might actually go in and like break down each stat line. What are some win cons for some of these teams? What maps can certain teams take off of other teams? But I'll think about that leading up to Major 1. I think Major 1 is about another week or so away. Okay, yeah. So Major 1 starts on the 29th. So we have one more week after this week. So we have week 5 and then a major. And then I think there's a little bit of off time before we start matches going into Major 2, which obviously season 2 of COD is going to come out. I'm going to have a season 1 review going up before then. I'm probably gonna start recording it this weekend actually, so please be on the lookout for that. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm recording this earlier in the week so that way we don't rush it out. And yeah, I just hope you guys have a good rest of your day, night, or evening whenever you're watching this. Please stay safe, and I'll catch you guys later.